Good evening. I'd like to call this Concord Township Zoning Commission meeting to order Tuesday, September 7th, 2021. We have a fairly busy agenda this evening. We have a public hearing for zoning text amendment, and we have a site plan review and a design review application for the existing McDonald's on Auburn Road. Then we have a presentation on the schedule this evening by the Concord Township Fire Department to discuss the new Fire Station number 1 and Station number 2 projects. And then we'll fall into a work session for residential conservation development. And then we'll do the approval of minutes. We'll have correspondence report and audience participation. So we've got a number of things to get together here on. And first of all, I'd like to start with item number 1 on the agenda, which is a public hearing for zoning text amendment as initiated by the Zoning Commission for an amendment to section 13.33E, outside dining, to delete the existing requirement for maximum outside seating capacity. At this point, I would like to call this public hearing to order. And if you would, Heather, if you could give us kind of a little overview of the zoning text change, and then we'll get into conversations and audience participation, public portion.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. If you recall, several months ago, we were contacted by an existing business owner in Concord who had asked the Zoning Commission to take a look at the conditional use permit requirements for outside dining. They felt that limiting the outside seating capacity to no more than 25% of the indoor seating capacity was a bit restrictive on restaurants, and they asked the Commission to take a look at that to see if that was something that we might consider modifying or getting rid of. If you recall, we looked at several other townships and cities to see if they had similar requirements, and ultimately decided that that this board decided that they wanted to strike that capacity. So that's all this amendment is doing. It's taking out that the maximum 25% of seating capacity.
Okay.
And then we did send this to the Lake County Planning Commission, so you do have their recommendation as well.
Yes, we received a letter dated September 1st of 2021. It's from Dave Radishy, Secretary of the Lake County Planning and Community Development. He said in his letter, Dear Ms. Freeman, the Lake County Planning Commission took under consideration the above-mentioned zoning text change at their regularly scheduled meeting on Tuesday, August 31st of 2021. The Lake County Planning Commission recommended that the text amendment be made. We are available to help in any aspect. If you have any questions, please feel free to call Dave Radishy, Director, or Joseph Rose, Planner. So we have that. We'll enter that into the record as a component of this hearing. I guess at this point, what I'd like to do is open this up for public comment. Before we start the public comment section, if there's anybody in this room that's planning on speaking, I would like to swear you in at this point. So if you're interested in talking about this, the addition of the outside dining, if you could, please raise your right hand. Nobody interested in speaking? Anybody on the phone? Vanessa, are you interested in talking on this issue? Not hearing her? Can she hear me? I'm assuming she can, so we'll assume no response. Okay, since at this point I've established that there's nobody in the audience that's interested in this. Oh, phone's ringing again. Hold off just for a second.
Hello? Hi, this is Vanessa. Sorry, I was disconnected.
Vanessa, are you interested in speaking in reference to the public
Hi,
hearing?
this is Vanessa. Sorry, I was disconnected.
Okay, are you interested in speaking on this public hearing, Vanessa?
Sorry, yes, I am. Can
Okay.
you hear me?
Yeah, then I would like you to raise your right hand and affirm or swear that the testimony you will give in reference to this will be true.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I just had a question about how many neighborhoods or adjoining residential areas would be impacted by this. It's just a question.
Don't really know. There's nobody here that is interested in speaking about it, so I'm going to have to assume that there's very few affected neighbors.
I meant from a zoning perspective. How many areas are potentially rezoned for this as it's changed?
It's
And
not
how
a
many
rezoning.
abutting
There's
residential
no
areas
there's
would
no
it affect?
rezoning that's taking place. All we're doing is we're eliminating, we're deleting the existing requirement for maximum outside seating capacity. That's all.
Okay.
Strictly a text change.
Pardon me?
Just a strictly a text change.
I understand that it's a text change. Is the text change for certain districts in the township that are zoned for this?
No, it's strictly a change to the to section 13.33E outside dining. That's all. There's no zoning tag. There's no zoning requirements. No zoning changes. Won't affect anybody's business. All it's going to do is allow businesses with outside dining or outside facilities to. We're taking the cap off those limits.
Right. When you make a text change, the text affects certain zoning areas, certain zoning districts. Only those that are zoned for something like this can happen. And then there are abutting different
Yes,
districts.
it's right. It's right in the. It's right in 1333, Vanessa. It specifically states what zoning or what zoning designations are affected under this issue.
Yes, exactly. And so my question was, when you are considering changing this, are there abutting residential areas that would be affected by this text change, and what would be the outcome?
I don't really understand your question.
Okay, maybe somebody else does.
Okay. We're into the insults tonight. All right. Does anybody else understand her question?
I believe,
Rich,
I believe, yeah, I believe she thinks that there's other areas in the township will be affected. If you take a look at 1333, it's the areas that are permitted in the BX business interchange, a GB gateway business, and a B1 restricted retail. That's the ones that are being affected by this. Does that answer your question?
That is really helpful. Thank you. Yes. And
Yep.
so, within the B1 restricted, are there any areas that abut that or the other two districts? Heather would know the answer to that.
Well, I'm sure if you took a ride in the township to these particular districts, you're going to see highways, streets, other developments, but I think they're far away from the restaurants in question that you'd have to worry about being an inconvenience, in my opinion.
Okay, so you don't think that that the abutting districts or abutting to a residential area, it hasn't been considered, but you don't think it'll be a problem?
I'd say no, because they already have patios.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this phone is incredibly hard to hear. I'm sorry. What did you say?
Said, shouldn't be a problem, the restaurants already have patios.
Right, okay. The reason that I asked is before the property that was a small zoning M originally on the Spear property on Concord Hampton, it is now those duplexes. That was originally zoned and restaurants were allowed, and there was a big concern at the time for outdoor dining in that area because it was so close to abutting to a residential area and neighborhood. And so I know that, things have changed and that specific area will no longer be a problem, but I was just wondering, as you're changing the zoning text, how it would affect areas like that where you're going from one type of a district like the B1 with potential open dining to abutting to a residential area, because that's usually where there's the most conflict or the most concern.
We're deleting one sent. Did you look at the packet, Vanessa, on what's being done on this? Have you looked at it? Have you reviewed it?
I haven't looked at this one, no.
Okay, we're deleting one sentence out of the text. One sentence. All we're deleting is the outside seating capacity shall not exceed 25% of the restaurant seating capacity indoors. That's all we're deleting. We're not doing anything else. Not making any other changes. We're just eliminating the restriction on the percentage for the capacity of outside dining. So people that already have an outside patio are no longer restricted to 25% of their indoor seating capacity. That's it. Pretty straightforward.
Right, or new restaurants could now have a higher percentage?
Yes.
Right.
Pardon?
That's correct.
Right, so, again, my question is, if there's a higher percentage, how would that affect the abutting residential areas? But it's something you didn't consider. It's okay. That's enough. I just had that question.
All right, so let me ask you a question. Are you, because we're in the public section of this right now, are you in favor or are you opposed to this zoning change?
I am neither. I am
Okay.
an interested party trying to just understand the
Okay.
impact.
Well, we're trying to conduct a public hearing, and so I'm interested in finding out if there's anybody that's either opposed or in favor to the resolution that
I
we're considering.
understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anybody else in the audience that would like to participate? Either in favor or opposed? Okay. At this point in time, I will close the public portion of this hearing. Discussion of the zoning commission members. Hiram?
No comments.
Okay. Frank?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Rich?
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
Rich
Nothing.
Peterson?
Nothing.
Okay. I have no comments at this point. I guess what I would do is I would entertain a motion to the affirmative.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the amendment to section 13.33E, outside dining, to delete the existing requirement for maximum outside seating capacity.
You have a motion made.
I'll second that motion.
Rich Peterson seconds. Okay. Heather, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Ruppert,
Yes.
Mr. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Ifelis,
Yes.
Mr. Schindler,
Yes.
and Mr. Lingenfelter.
Yes. So let the record reflect there were 5 yeas, no nays, no abstentions. The motion carries. So we will be deleting that text from the zoning text, the amendment. Okay, good. All right, we'll move on to item number 2 on the agenda, which is a site plan review, application number 046, submitted by Larson Architects for a remodel and alterations for the existing McDonald's located at 757 Auburn Road. Do we have the applicants here? Would you like to come up? We'd love to hear your presentation. We've got lots of paperwork here.
Yes, we do.
Lots of paperwork. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Believe me, we appreciate your efforts.
I am Bob Baumgartner with Larson Architects. I was the main applicant.
Okay, can you state your address for the record, please?
12506 Edgewater Drive in Lakewood, Ohio, Suite 10.
Thank you. Okay.
And I also have Michelle.
Michelle Miller, and I'm representing McDonald's
Okay.
Corporation.
All right, thank you.
And my address is 667 Morning View Drive, Akron, Ohio.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you need an easel or anything? You have any plans you wanted to put up, or are you okay?
Did everyone have the plans? Okay,
Yes,
good. So
we do.
We can just sort of run through it then.
Okay, well, why don't you, when you're talking, reference what you're looking at so we can make sure that we're looking at the same stuff.
Absolutely. The first page of the packet should be the C1 sheet. Yeah, okay, good. Okay.
Okay, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yep,
So basically for the project in general, we would like to renovate the existing exterior of the building by removing the mansard roof and then renovate the existing side-by-side, the existing single-lane drive-through to a side-by-side drive-through now. Rework the handicap stalls and some of the striping along the sides and the rear, and then add what is called a Ford Present stall, which is a parked car stall to run out the order to that. That is the majority of the exterior work, and then obviously the second portion later will be more about the interior and the exterior. With that, there is a minor change to the front bit of curbing, as you can see, just to make sure that the car can actually get out of the driveway.
okay. What's driving this?
What was the question?
What's driving this process?
Ollie, would you want to?
Anything in particular that's pushing us in this direction or making this change? Is this something that McDonald's is doing organizationally?
It is, and then also I'll have Ali Mandobi, the owner, speak on that.
Okay.
To just
Sure.
Hello, my name is Ali Mandavi. I'm the franchisee
Okay.
of the building here.
Okay,
Which
can you
we opened up
state your address for the record, please?
7575 Auburn Road.
Okay, thank you.
So you may want to make a correction.
All right,
I said 757. So it's 7575 Auburn Road.
okay,
Sorry about that.
all right, thank you.
So anyhow, in the last several years, as we all know, especially during the COVID crisis, it's become more detrimental to provide a better drive-through service in all restaurant industry. But in our case, having a one drive-through lane, it's creating a traffic jam into the Auburn Road. I'm sure at times driving in the early mornings or lunchtime, there are cars that's sitting on Auburn Road, which is creating an issue with the traffic pattern coming out of the hospital. By creating a second lane, you're almost taking additional vehicle from the main road into the parking area, and at the end, it funnels into one lane and exiting the property.
Okay, thank you.
And from an overall perspective, when you're talking about the remodel, McDonald's is under a remodeling program. So we are working with all of our franchisees to upgrade our facilities and remodel them.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any additional information you'd like to provide on this project?
just a clarification. I don't know, Heather, did you clarify anything about the light poles with everyone?
Go ahead and do that.
Okay, good.
For
So
everyone.
there was an earlier submittal that I believe caused some confusion.
Right.
That had the light poles being remodeled. That was an earlier conversation that we were having with the owner about if we did put new light poles, where would they go? That is not happening as part of this project, so apologize for the confusion on my.
So you're not making any changes on the light?
Correct. There's no light pole correct. The light poles aren't being touched at all in this project. So just the side by side, the parking stalls, the handicap stalls, and I said about that front curb. And landscaping. I think you guys got the landscape plan as well.
Right,
Yep.
okay.
I have a question on sheet A 2.0 and 2.1. Yeah, 2.1.
Yep.
Did you have a choice on material and color for the outside?
There is some different options. This is a typical remodel and typical materials that we use, colors that we use. So the color schemes are typical to a region. So in this region, that's typically what you're gonna see that McDonald's corporate provides for design package.
Question, we approved the 2-lane drive some time ago. Is this different from that, or basically? the
No,
same?
it's different.
It
A
is?
previous edition had the, I think even had like building additions on it and pushed it out. I believe we were even into the truck lot at
Oh,
that
yeah,
point.
true, that's correct.
This is totally, it's all on the same site now.
Okay.
Yes, so much different than previously.
So the truck lot remains?
The truck lot is,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, in reviewing the staff report, there were a couple of issues. Now, Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're referencing the light poles, since that's no longer a part of the conversation. Is that appropriate that we address those issues in the staff report then, or no?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay, I had originally, Mr. Chairman, yeah, I was suggesting that you grant conditional approval, but as the applicant has indicated that the light poles aren't going to change, and then
Right.
further looking at the civil drawings, I can see the little markings on that drawing. So now that I know what I'm looking for, they are shown on sheet C1. On the,
They're harder on the landscape.
Yeah, if they're
like
on the
little
yeah.
They're like little circles that don't have
Yeah.
tags.
they're on the landscape
They
plan
are on
now?
the landscape.
Okay.
And they're just not as,
Yeah.
on the civil plan, it's like an L, it's like, look like a square.
See
Yeah, it's
better on
this is
the-
their symbol.
So I would then change my recommendation for an approval based on that additional information.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that we were, because looking at the staff report, there's a couple of references
Right.
to the light poles, and
Yep.
since that's kind of been taken off the table, there would be no reason to discuss that with the applicant.
Yep.
The only other issue that the staff recommends conditional approval on the design review application, which will be coming up next. We can hit that then, I guess. So at this point in time, since the light poles are no longer an issue, then the staff recommends approval. I guess at this point I would, oh, I'm sorry, Rich, go ahead.
Question,
Yes,
Chairman.
please.
So the geometrics of this is rather minimal, 20-foot radius. So it's pretty tight. I assume this is restricted to small vehicles. I mean, they're not, trucks can't come through here, or,
I mean, trucks can definitely come through here. I mean, they have to have their delivery truck come through here as well.
I meant the drive-through.
Yeah.
The drive-through at this radius,
I mean,
you can accommodate? I'm just asking if that,
Is that seen in Mizzica other restaurants?
You get the site
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
for the drive-through?
Yes.
Okay. If you look at on the east side, which is against the curbing, that area used to be designated for some parking space. Those spaces have been eliminated.
they're gone.
So create a larger circle,
Okay. Okay.
so you could get around that.
Yeah, look, now, thank you. It
Sure.
looked tight. Thank you. The only other question was concerning, well, given that configuration and the angled parking, you don't see conflicts between the cars coming in and cars backing out of an angled parking. Potential conflicts, I know might be minimal. On the entry, coming in with the angled parking there, just pointing out cars that back out of an angle while vehicles are coming in.
Actually, currently, we have issues, but I think, I'm
You do.
suspecting in the future it won't. Because again, if you notice that we're pushing more cars more forward and having those 2 lanes in the back, so you're stacking more vehicles. As a result,
That's true.
your funnel is becoming a little bit wider, so you're pushing more vehicles.
That's true, okay.
You're still maintaining, what is that, 19.5, 20 feet between the second stack lane and the.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
he's addressing it.
Backing out front here.
Push the car. Thank
You're
you.
right on it, because currently we have that issue.
Great.
In order to back up, we have a car behind there, so we always have to wait for it.
You have to wait.
That's
Right. Well, thank you for pointing and answering that. I appreciate it. Thank you. That was it, Mr. Chairman.
Rich Peterson, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Frank, any questions?
Not right now.
Hiram, any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Did you get your issue with regards to the design review out of your, you okay with that, the response?
Nothing we can say about it, right?
Okay.
That's what McDonald's is.
Right. All right, just want to make sure. Okay. Thank you. You can have a seat for a moment, then we'll go right to the, after we're done with this component, then we'll go right to the, to review, the design review application. Thank you. Okay, any discussion on the board at this point on this matter? I think we've asked our questions. Everybody okay?
I'm fine.
Okay. All right, at this point, I would entertain a motion in the affirmative.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we conditionally approve site plan application number 46 for the Concord McDonald's.
I'll second that.
Isn't it approval
I
now?
was just going to say, we don't want,
Yeah, we don't-
there's no
Approval?
conditions.
Condition.
There's no, it's not conditional because they've taken the light pole issue off the table, so it's really,
Okay.
basically, we're just going to,
Okay.
there's no conditions for them to adhere to.
Okay,
So if you'd like to maybe
will.
rephrase your motion, please?
yes, I will.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve site plan application number 46 for the Concord McDonald's.
Okay, have a motion made.
And I'll still second that motion.
Mr. Iafalese seconds. Okay, Heather, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peterson?
Yes?
Mr. Ruppert?
Yes.
Mr. Lingenfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Ifelis?
Yes.
And Mr. Schindler?
Yes,
Okay, let the record reflect we had 5 yeas, no nays, and no abstentions. The motion carries. So the site plan review application 046 is approved. Okay. Now, we'll move on to the item number 3 on the agenda, which is the design review application. If you'd like to come up and we can have a conversation on that. Now, I noticed we have a new person joining this group, so if, when you're ready to speak, sir, if you could please state your name and your address for the record, we'd appreciate it.
My name is Major Harrison. I'm with Major Source LLC, P.O. Box 18869, Cleveland, Ohio, 44118.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, please give us your presentation.
Well, I'm assuming that this is just pertaining to the sign.
If that's what you want to cover. Yeah.
That's what
Yep.
As indicated, McDonald's is undergoing a rebranding. The signage in this package is very minimal. We have the M logo on the front elevation facing Auburn, and then as well as the non-drive-through side of the building, which is the, I want to say the east elevation, if I'm not mistaken. In addition to that package, or these signs, we will be installing 2 digital boards, menu boards. It could be a pre-menu board as you're driving up into the drive-through, so everyone can get a look at it and kind of make a decision on what they want. And then as you get to the actual ordering area, it'll be a double-faced menu board. Also, in addition to this, is a clearance bar. In fact, I think there are 2, one right over the drive-through, and I think one
It's a double gate that sits at the, yep,
right here.
right, that's a double gate.
Okay.
Yep. It has 2 clearance
Yeah,
bars.
it's 2 clearance
But
bars.
it's one single pole.
Right, correct. And that's basically it for the signage portion of this.
Okay.
So I'll clarify on one thing too. On the colored elevations, you guys will see a second McDonald's sign on A2.0. The colored elevations, that McDonald's sign is not part of the project. You see it right there on the side. That is not part of it. It is just the 2 M-arcs that are going on the building. In terms of the building itself, then we have the master roof we discussed earlier. That is being removed and we are going up with more of a interface around the entire building. This is typical for most. Sorry. This is typical for almost all McDonald's now. They are getting rid of the outdated mansard look and going up to the new standard. As well as that, they're renovating the interior of the restaurant with new dining, ADA improvements to the restroom, and a new customer service area on how they're presenting to the customers as well. That's, again, it's pretty light for this one. One of the questions that came up on the staff report was the RT units being able to be seen. Existing, the rear of the building's at 15.3 and the front is at 16.9. The whole building now will be around 18 feet. And actually, it's like 3 inches when the cap's on. That RT will not be seen anymore. I mean, that RT was only sticking up like a foot anyway now before, so I went and looked at it. But that will not be part of the issue anymore once the building gets taller. I believe that is the majority of the renovations to the design.
Right.
If any questions, I will be happy to respond.
Then I noticed in the staff report, their recommendation, one of the questions they had was the parapet shall screen all roof-mounted mechanical equipment from view. Is that going to be addressed? Is that going to be taken care of?
Well, it won't be viewed anymore because the parapet will be tall enough to cover any viewing of the RTU units.
Okay. All right. Good. And again, there's a reference to the lighting, which I'm going to assume that
Yes.
that falls under the
All,
same.
yeah, no light poles are being touched. in
Right.
this.
So then everything's going to be consistent with the existing lighting in place.
Yes.
So really, the only question was the parapet screening issue,
Yes.
and we've addressed that.
Yes, sir.
Do I have any questions from the board at this point? Hiram?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I have I'm on sheet C1,
C1. Okay, I'm with you.
Oh, the one with the.
Charlie 1,
Yep.
with all the signs on it or
Yeah.
whatever they are. Where and how many are 3 and 4?
This will be.
These things are so small.
I'm sorry.
These are reduced, so I can't. Come on.
I try to make it as small as possible, so you
You
guys.
did? Okay. I appreciate that.
There's 2 for number 3. This is the mobile ordering stations.
Okay.
Number 4 is
And
1.
where are the 3s?
Would you like me to come show you?
Sure.
Okay. So right here is where the mobile ordering stations are. There's 2 right there. Those 2 little black lines. And then these, actually there's 2 of them, I believe. 2 for 4. It's this one and that one, and it's basically a pull forward reserve spot. So they'll say, hey, pull your car up forward.
Okay.
Park at number 1.
Okay.
Let's see, it's number 1 or 2. They'll say, and so it's that one.
Oh, I see. That.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So there
if you
are 2
mobile
of
order,
those.
Yep. And 2 of the 4s.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Would anybody else like clarification?
I was trying to look around the ordering and they're not there.
Yeah. Should blow this up 20% at least.
No other questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Frank, any questions?
None. No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ifelis?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Peterson?
No, nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I have no questions at this point. We appreciate the thoroughness and
Thank you.
The information you've provided for the board. You make our job a lot easier when you do things like this.
I thank you guys
We-
as well.
We appreciate it. Any discussion from the board at this point?
None here, Mr. Chairman.
Frank?
No.
No? Rich? Rich? No, I'm good too. Okay, if there's no further discussion, and we have covered the appropriate conditional issues that have been set forth in the staff report, I would consider a motion in the affirmative. We're busy this side of the table here. You guys have been busy.
Mr. Chairman.
You're not getting over, just so you know, you're not getting over, there's no overtime pay tonight, so.
I make a motion, we approve design review application number 46 for the Concord McDonald's.
Okay, I have a motion made.
I'll second.
Motion seconded by Hiram, made by Rich Peterson. Heather, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Schindler?
Yes.
Mr. Reppert?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Ifelis?
Yes.
Mr. Lingenfelter?
Yes. Okay, so let the record reflect, we have 5 yeas, no nays, no abstentions for item number 3 on the agenda, the design review application component number 046 by Larson Architects. So that carries as well. So you guys are done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, and again, we appreciate your presentation and the information you provided.
You guys have a wonderful evening.
Yep, yeah, you too. Take care. Okay.
Thorough packet there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chairman.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah.
All right. Oh boy, here we go. Item number 4 on the agenda.
I thought you were going to move back.
Gird your loins. All right. Item number 4 on the agenda this evening is a presentation by Concord Township Fire Department for the new Fire Station number 1 and Fire Station number 2 projects. Wow.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Firefighters work better when there's pictures involved.
Yeah. We understand. Do we get crayons by
Lots
any
of pictures.
chance? or-
Well, we did color a little bit today.
All right, good.
Are you gonna
Did
sign
you
these
stay
for us?
inside the lines?
If you'd like me to, I will. On behalf of the fire department, Deputy Chief Terriaco and I want to thank the commission for allowing us to come in and just give you an overview of the fire station projects. This has been a long time coming. There's been a lot of work done in the background and continues to be done. The information that's in front of you, I just want to point out first that this is largely from the current full construction drawing sets for both stations. So we've gone to bid on the projects, and there's been several requests for information and addendums issued. So there may be some modifications, but the general site plan, grading plan, that basically has remained untouched that I'm aware of. But what we wanted to do was just give you some information about the projects and just kind of go over some of the features. Starting with Station 1, looking at C2.01. It was important for me to point out that as we went through this process, that the fire department complied with all the building and parking setbacks, 50 foot on the 608 side, building setback, and 25 foot parking setback on 608, as well as the 20 foot building and parking setback along the bike path side. The engineers put together a good program as far as stormwater. The property behind, I believe that's the Old Stone Schoolhouse, the gardens and that is designated as a dry extended detention basin with the top of the bank at 850 feet. The red barn that's in the back there now is to remain untouched. There's no impact to that. Actually, there will be improvements to that drive. That barn currently stores quite a bit of the fire department's equipment.
Right.
And that'll change later.
So you're not going to remove the barn or do anything with it?
It's not our plan to do anything with that red barn.
Now, what are you going to do on the access road back there? Are you going to pave it? Or?
It's designated to where it wides off to the back of the fire station and to the side of the barn. It's concrete, and then as you get further closer to the barn, that's a heavy-duty asphalt base.
Right.
So currently it's stone.
Right.
It's a gravel drive.
Yep.
So there will be some improvements there. As they repaved State Route 608, you'll note that they removed the crosswalk that was put there years ago when the soccer field was initially installed, we requested from ODOT not to replace that crosswalk. Because we didn't want people to think that there's anything over there that's, there's no recreation over there or anything at this point. So we didn't want to create that hazard. Any questions on C201? Okay. So also we provided you on Station 1 the grading plan on C301. Just shows the plan currently has a lot of that soccer field as fill that'll have to be removed and replaced with construction grade fill. They were initially going to bring that up to street level, but as a compromise because of the cost associated with that, it's going to go down a little bit, a couple feet from street level down to where the fire station is to save on some of that fill dirt, and still provide adequate stormwater drainage to the station. And in terms of the utility plan, it's nice that we were able to take advantage of the township recently getting the sanitary sewer put in several years ago, so we'll be able to tap into that. And again, this just shows the stormwater going back to that detention basin and ultimately exiting towards the bike path. There's existing riprap that's back there on the side of the, it's not actually going into the bike path, it's further into the woods, but there is existing riprap there for stormwater drainage. And actually we might be able to improve some of the stormwater runoff at that area.
What conditions do you have to wash yourselves and everything else, decon yourselves if needed? How's that being processed?
In the existing station or in the new station?
Oh, the new one.
In the new station, so we're going to actually be in a much better position. We're going to be able to come back from a fire, EMS call, trauma, car wreck, anything like that requires us to decontaminate, whether it's carcinogens from a fire or bloodborne pathogens or whatever the case may be. Right off of the bay is going to have 2 decon showers, which are full restrooms. So if a firefighter is working in the bay, they don't have to walk all the way through the station to use the restroom. But if they come back from one of those events, there's a little cubby area that they'll be able to hose down all the equipment, and then they can go into a decon shower and totally, they could take a full shower there if they wanted to, and bring in their spare duty uniforms to change into. And then once they are done there, the next room has laundry, so they can put their dirty gear into the laundry right away. They don't have to go into the house side of the station. And so essentially they're going to be clean before they come back into the house side where they live and work, a business site.
Now, how about the water that they all rinse off with? How's that processed?
So that's in a oil water separator
Okay.
that gets pumped off. Okay. So the water, if there's anything that's, if we get back from a hazardous materials incident, for example, then we'll take the necessary actions to get that hazardous material pumped off and disposed of properly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then lastly, just the landscape plan. Just lots of trees, lots of shrubs, stuff that we're not used to having around our firehouse. Just to help, so it does a couple things. First of all, I mean, it just looks nicer. And second of all, helps with some of that stormwater. Just like one of the things I learned from Frank Kreska, our previous service director, is plant trees, right? Well, there's a reason for that. So it's exciting to see a lot of the shrubbery, the trees, all serving a purpose. And Deputy Chief's going to talk a little bit about Station 2 that has even more of an impact when it comes to stormwater. But we also offered you some building elevations for Station 1, 4 drive-through bays or 8 bi-directional. So we haven't really come to terms that equipment's going to run, whether it's going to be fully drive-through. It's going to be equipped both ways, but it gives us multiple functionality. The training room in the downstairs level, the ground level, alongside the fitness room and mechanical room, hydraulic elevator to meet ADA requirements, and a fully functional training tower so our firefighters can do their training in-house.
So those bays are going to be fully drive-through from the front to the back of the building?
Go from the back to the front.
Back to the front?
Yeah. There might be one of the bays or one or two of the bays that are bi-directional, so you might have vehicles pointed out the front and the back. But those are mostly like service vehicles, command vehicles, not like fire trucks and ambulances. Those are primarily going to be drive-through.
Right, okay.
But the whole idea is quick response, getting us up and out the gate as fast as we can. Any questions on Station 1?
Well, Chief, originally there was talk that it was going to be located over here
Yeah.
in the parking lot. What was the driving reason to go over there?
The new board. So we had a lot of discussion about that. And my feeling is with the original design, having it in the parking lot behind here had such a impact on community events, parking for meetings, trying to come up with viable solutions for all of that and trying to squeeze so much on a tight space was challenging. And the biggest thing for me was I didn't want to impact community events. So we have 2 fully used softball fields in the back that get a lot of use. Concerts, and Deb Esker with the recreation department isn't slowing down with community events. So we want to make sure that there's that opportunity down the road too.
Okay.
Are they going to raise that, or are they going to repurpose it, or
The
what is-
existing station,
Yeah,
it's in the plans now to raise it after the completion and we're done with the whole project,
Right.
including Station 1 and Station 2. Yeah. The only other thing I have in front of you is the finish boards, the exterior, and that's the interior finish boards. So nice aesthetic.
Yes.
Very nice. Yeah. So
Is there anything you still want?
that I still want.
Yeah, in here?
Oh, yeah. There's
Oh,
always
yeah?
stuff I
Okay.
want. Yeah, there's always stuff I want. But you know what? We're blessed to have the opportunity to come into the current trend of the fire service and provide for the firefighters' safety and well-being. Right now, a lot of our part-timers don't have lockers here, so they're taking their stuff home, and that's a problem. That's a problem. Whether it's their duty uniforms or their bunker gear, some guys still throw their bunker gear in their truck or in their car, and that's not acceptable to me. But this is a great opportunity, and yeah, there's always going to be stuff I want. Even if I think I have it all, there's always stuff I want. So
When do you expect to break ground?
right now, the bid opening is scheduled for September 16th. September 16th. There was a lot of requests for information that came in. We were initially set to open bids Thursday. But there was so many different requests for information, so we had to extend that out a week. So the bid opening will be on the 16th, and then hopefully an award thereafter at a trustees meeting. So I'm still hopeful for October. But we'll just kind of see how things come together. Yeah,
So
the sooner the better.
we're gonna leave, old Station 1 up and operable through the completion of Station number 2.
We're gonna leave the existing Station 1 is gonna be fully operable and staffed until the completion of the new Station 1.
Okay,
At that point, we're gonna move our Station 1 operations to the new Station 1, and then we'll start Station 2. What'll happen with Station 2 is, because it's on the same site, is we're gonna put 2 firefighters in a temporary facility with an engine in the Station 2 area. And then the other 2, because we have 4, we staff 4 over there, the other 2 will bring the ambulance over here and operate out of the new Station 1.
gotcha.
So at that point, once we move into the new Station 1, the old Station 1 will by and large be vacant.
So, but you're not gonna raise it until Station 2 is complete?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay, got it.
right, because we might still need it for storage of some
Right.
stuff. And it gives us some time to get things moved, and just settle things down. But there will always be emergency service coverage in Station 2's area during the construction of Station 2. Yeah.
Chief, I'll comment on the design of Station 1 and how it fit the site. I mean, the grading there is not easy,
Right,
and I like the way the building complements the topography.
thank you.
And the east elevation is very attractive. It gives a professional, handsome look, especially the right side. Right side. So
Yeah, the side facing, like where the parking is,
where the
right?
parking is.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing is, I assume, given a lot of the RFIs coming in, there's a lot of activity.
There's a lot of
Expect
activity.
Good.
A lot
I
of
was wondering whether
Yeah,
GCs are out there looking for work. So
there's a lot looking.
Good.
There's a lot looking, and that's good.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll let Deputy Chief talk a little bit about Station 2. Sure.
There was always talk, the reason that, well, another big reason you wanted a new fire station was to be able to accommodate a big, hooking ladder, so you wouldn't have to rely on other municipalities. Is this gonna have that capacity?
It certainly could have that capacity. Right now, when all these projects are done, I'll only have 1 bay vacant at Station 2. Everything else is full. All the bays will be full. If we went down the road of considering a ladder truck down the road,
Right.
it most likely would end up with a Station 3 in that high-rise district, the hospital, UH, and those in the commercial district.
Right.
But we could, there is some flexibility, but they are built to accommodate a ladder truck. I could put a ladder truck in the new Station 2 if I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So it doesn't have the capacity to do that.
the capacity is there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions on Station 1?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Station 2. So Station 2 brings its own little bit of challenge. We are going on the same site as it currently is. Right now on the site is Station 2, and then the fire prevention office is right next to that. So those buildings we raise and the new Station 2 will go right on that property. In 2019 and 20, we also purchased the house that would be right 2 houses down on North and Meadow. Made that purchase to prepare for the new Station 2. So everything will go right on that site. So looking at the site plan C2.01, we'll start off there. So unlike Station 1, I have no neighbors at Station 1. We have no neighbors. Station 2, we're fitting right into that neighborhood. So that brings some of those challenges with the neighbors immediately to the north and to the west. So we've been working with the neighbors very closely between the chief and I, the trustees, Andy Rose, the administrator, working out any of their concerns. So some of their concerns are, the obvious is stormwater. because we all know that area floods pretty bad. Even our Station 2 floods all the time because we're lower. You know, all that water comes right in. So looking at the site plan, you'll see to the west and then also right around the Prouty Road in North Meadow, you will have stormwater dry detention areas. So our engineering firm, along with Stormwater Management, Lake County, have all looked at this and they're very satisfied with what is proposed and what will be provided for that stormwater. So once again, working with the neighbors, Mr. Peters next to, to the north, we're working with him, make sure he's satisfied, and then also working with Mr. Walland to the west. They both have stormwater concerns. Mr. Walland has some other concerns of the overall site plan, so we're working with him, such as the trash, the dumpster enclosure. There are some concerns about that, so we worked through that. That enclosure will stay because we are a 24/7 business, so we do have trash that we need to enclose. So that'll be in there, so that'll stay. There's also concern about the radio tower. So that radio tower has been in place 8 or 9 years so far. It never really stood out a little bit, but once you remove some of the landscaping in the house, then that tower is there. That tower, we did look at other options for telecommunications and phone use, because all of our phones and telecommunications go through Lake County. So to replace that tower with any other type of phone system, it would be literally too expensive. So believe it or not, the tower is the most economical way to stay. So we do agree, it's tall. She's saying when I worked very hard to try to get rid of it, all of them, because we have one on this site too that will go over to Station 1, but it's there. So there's a little bit of wiggle room where it's at, but it's pretty much where it's gonna have to stay. So just working through the site plan, fencing, landscaping, and all that kind of stuff does present a challenge because we're moving into the neighborhood. Like I always say, a fire department, when we're in a neighborhood, we're your best friend, but we're also the most active friend and neighbor, right? Fire department is a place to go. It's a safe place. It's the community hub, right? But then when you change that design a little bit, then it really stands out a little bit. So just want to rest assured, we've been working very hard with this lighting. We want to make sure lighting doesn't go into the neighbor's property to cause any harm.
Did you guys get much pushback from the residents around the site? Did you get much concern or?
Little, just concerns, not much pushback.
Nothing earth shattering.
No.
Good.
So moving on to, we go to the landscape. So we go to L1, 01, I think you have that. So plenty of trees, plenty of shrubbery. The building is going to stand out. You have a picture of it. It's a beautiful building. Color scheme is all the same. It's 2 bays, drive-through. It'll be a 1 fire engine, 1 ambulance, and 1 utility vehicle, plus the firefighters that park there. So try to keep it, I know the saying, it's our laundry basket. We try to keep all of our laundry in our own basket. We don't want it to overflow into the neighbors, so we'll try to do as much landscaping as we can so the neighbors don't see too much. We want to be that good neighbor. Looking at the elevations, A501. Very attractive building, just like Station 1 when you made that comment. I think it'll fit very well into the neighborhood. Any questions?
No, I am really excited for you guys. This has been a long time coming. It's nice that we finally got there, and it's going to be nice for you guys to get into the 21st century as far as facilities and tools and accommodations that you deserve, and we appreciate everything you guys do for the community.
The disappointing thing, I'll be gone before they, unless you can build it by next June, so.
Just out of curiosity, what's the expected completion date? Do you have a target date as far as completion is concerned?
Station 1 will go first.
Right.
Be completed, we're looking at
14 months for
14
Station
months.
1.
Then there'll be a little bit of 30 days or so of move equipment, and then
Right.
Station 2 will be 11 to 12.
Yeah, about 12 months for Station 2.
Now, will they, as that progresses, will they, at some point, they'll both be going at the same time? Or is it gonna be Station 1 first and then you're not gonna start 2 until you're,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the only thing that'll happen would be like punch list stuff at Station 1, but when Station 2 started. By and large, we'll be moved into Station 1.
okay.
They might be working on punch list stuff, but most of the projects will move over.
Because fire prevention is still on Station 2 site, so they gotta be totally moved over.
Right, gotcha. Any questions from the board?
No, sir. None here.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much for the
Yeah,
time.
we really appreciate the
thank you.
presentation,
Yeah, thank you.
gentlemen. Thank you very much. We appreciate everything you do. Okay, back to the agenda. That was item number 4 on the agenda, the presentation by the Concord Township Fire Department. We appreciate their presentation. I hope those watching in the community have an opportunity to review this again. So I think it was very informative and very well put together. Okay, item number 5 on the agenda this evening is a work session for possible zoning text amendments related to the Residential Conservation Development District. Heather and I had a conversation this past week. We talked about a couple of things. Unfortunately, she has put a request into the Lake County Planning Commission, the Soil and Water District, for some information and some guidelines and guidance on the restoration component for the, for any disturbed open space area, having a restoration plan. As of today, she has gotten 0 feedback, not even an acknowledgement that she has put in a request for this information. So we're hoping that at some point they're going to respond back. But I guess our thoughts were, and this is certainly open for discussion with the board and everybody, but our thoughts were that maybe the appropriate course of action, because we are kind of up against it with regards to getting this zoning text implemented, because there's going to be more proposals coming our way, and there's a few things in here that we felt were very important that we would like to see implemented before we get that restoration plan. And since we don't have that information at this point, our thought was that we strip any reference to the restoration plan out of the existing text. And then when we get the feedback from the Soil and Water District with some sort of a blueprint as to how we should proceed with that, then we can always reconvene and add that information into the existing text. That is our job, something we have the ability to do. So once we pass the existing zoning text the way it is, it's nothing that's cast in stone. I mean, obviously we have the ability to go back and make tweaks and adjustments and changes, and we feel that once we get that feedback from the Soil and Water on the restoration plan, then we could kind of integrate that back into the existing text. We thought that would probably be the best course of action, unless there's somebody on this board that feels that we have enough knowledge and expertise that we can kind of move forward on putting together our own restoration plan. And I can tell you right now, I'm checking out on that one. That is way over my head, out of my lane, and something I wouldn't feel comfortable doing. If there's anybody else that feels they would like to take that on, I would certainly like to entertain it. But I think we're in a good place right now, and we should probably wait for the Soil and Water. But that's open for discussion, so feel free to chime in. Ira?
Well, here's what I have to say. I would put forth the soil and water. This is what we're giving you. We'd like to have your feedback. If we don't get your feedback by a certain date, we're gonna ignore you. I'm sorry to say, but you know, we're the same public commission as you're a public entity also. And we're here to serve the public in their best interest, and please respond by this date. And I mean, I've worked so long in the industry that people do tend to ignore some other people's comments. And if you don't say, here's the ultimatum, they stand up and they will respond, I hope. So that's what I'd like Heather to do, and say, you know, we're on this deadline. You know, of course it's our own deadline. It's nothing else that we can't do, but respond by this date, please.
Okay, how do you feel about the idea of stripping the language of the restoration out of the existing zoning text and moving forward with what we have?
Yes.
You okay
yes,
with that?
I'm all for that.
Okay. All right.
I agree with you 100%. We want to get this on the books as soon as we can, because things are coming in that deal with the RCDs, and we'd like them to follow these instructions.
Right.
And not the ones we presently have.
Right. Okay.
I'm good with it.
Okay. Frank, any comments?
Heather, have you ever thought of pursuing it rather than with Lake County? You know, universities offer a lot of services to the community. Do you ever think of maybe approaching Lake Erie College and see if there's maybe a board or a committee or an organization within the university that might maybe have some expertise in this area that could maybe help us out, possibly?
I hadn't considered that.
I think that would be maybe, if you wouldn't mind trying, just contacting them and tell them what we're trying to do. And maybe they might have, you know, professors or departments and something that could maybe help us out. I know
I can.
I know universities
Yeah.
offer a lot of services in certain fields. Matter of fact, in some of the areas I've worked in the past, in some of my career stuff, we went to universities for their services, and they were happy to offer help. Because they have students, for example, that are going through for various degrees, and they give them projects to work on, and they just run with it. So I just thought maybe this might be another alternative to see if we can get some action. They might have stuff right there that they can give us maybe right away for all we know. That would be a tremendous help to us.
I can look into that.
Yeah.
See what programs they offer, so I can
If you
figure
don't
out,
mind.
you know, who to maybe reach out to.
Right.
I mean, yeah, there are other sources out there other than soil and water. The focus had been on them, particularly because they were the ones that were requesting that we add that information
Oh, I
in there,
know.
which is why we were going back to them, you know, all those times. So, but yeah,
Right,
I mean,
but
we'll definitely have to look at some
Since
other
there's a lack of
sources.
response and stuff, hey, sorry, let's see if we can use another source.
So you know what, your problem, Heather, is you're just too nice. You're just too nice and understanding. You have to become a little more forceful.
Well, I mean, you know, there was vacations and things like that, but
Right.
you know,
I'm
in
disappointed,
an effort
quite
to
frankly.
move,
You
you
know,
know, we have been working on these amendments for the
Right.
majority of the year, so.
yeah, I'm disappointed that they haven't even acknowledged. I mean, at least if they said, "Hey, we got your request.
Yeah.
We're taking it under consideration. We're trying to put something together." But they haven't even said they haven't even acknowledged that we've come to them for some information on this, and yet they were the ones that recommended that we put a restoration plan in there. And then when we asked them for some guidance, they've pretty much ghosted us, which is kind of weird. Don't quite understand that, but you know, I mean, you can only do so much. You can only send so many emails, make so many phone calls. They don't respond. They don't respond. But that's, you know, I think Frank's got a great idea. I mean, to reach out to the local local schools and universities and see if they've got any sort of a, program that where they might be able to have some students jump in and give us some information on that. That might be a good alternative if they're not going to do it. And I like Hiram's. I mean, give them a deadline. Say, look, we need to hear something back, or else we got to move on. So, how do you feel about stripping that out of the text as it sits, Frank, and moving forward with what we have? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, good. Okay, Mr. Ifelis?
Mr. Chairman, I support the removal of the text as you just, and the whole reasoning behind it. I believe from conversations with Heather and the time we've already invested in this, it's far more critical to get this moving forward than a clause about restoration. It bothers me that we don't, but then again, I find it far more critical that we move forward without delay. Far more critical.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Peterson, any comments?
No, I'm fully on board with moving forward and doing an amendment later.
Okay. All right. At this point, is there anything else in the work session, Heather, that you'd like to discuss that we've kind of was hanging out there, or do you think we're ready to move forward?
Well, what I gave you this evening was the summary of the proposed
Right.
text amendments. This was assuming that we were gonna put a hold on the restoration component, and that is the draft text here that I provided for you tonight. I do want to point out just what area I reverted back to some of the text. If you go to page 16.19, in the middle of that page, small letter E.
Wait. What page are you on?
16.19.
Oh, that's the page, okay?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Right there in the middle of the page, roughly, small letter E, that is where the previous version of the text, we had striked a lot of this out and put in the restoration plan components. And so I untracked, didn't accept those track changes and went back to the text that was in here. But I did add in, after where it says a landscape plan shall be provided, I included in that the plan shall be prepared by an Ohio registered landscape architect. And I know previously we talked about an implementation time frame, so added this language back in and that the landscape plan shall be, or that the revegetation shall be implemented within 120 days of the plat being recorded with the Lake County Recorder. So we can have a
Very
reasonable
reasonable.
time frame on that
Yep.
to restore those areas.
Okay, I think it's a good idea.
But other than that, I mean, the other changes that we talked about last month, if you flip to the page previously to that 16.18, the commission had decided rather than doing the sliding scale on the open space, we went with just the straight minimum 30%. So you'll see that in there.
I thought it was 35.
Don't get Frank going.
We could go back to the transcript if we need to. But I think that was really the only other change that we had talked about in the month before. I just wanted to show you that we did make in there.
What did we finally determine with roundabouts?
They belong in Europe? Was that, I think that was one
We
of the
need
things
more.
we came up with. If you like them, you can always move to Europe and enjoy all the roundabouts you like.
No, we took it out, didn't we?
As far as, yeah, we did, we
Yes.
took that out.
We took it out.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we had, sorry, back on page 16.18, when we talked about additional passive recreational opportunities, we clarified that will be approved by the township.
Right.
Because we had a discussion about who was approving some of these
Right.
things at our last meeting. So,
Okay.
So that change was made as well. And then we added in, under the sketch plan requirements, wanting to know where the school districts were. And that was on page 16.22. Under number 2C. So you'll see permanent building corporation lines, school district boundaries, because I know that came up with one of the last RCDs.
Right.
So all of those changes were made that we discussed at the last meeting, and those are here in front of you. So it sounds like if the board's comfortable moving forward with these changes this evening, you can go ahead and initiate these amendments, 1 through 11, and then you can still try to gather the other information on the restoration plan and figure out, we might have to check with legal on this, but as we move forward with these amendments, I'm wondering if maybe that could be included in at some point during those future public hearings, or if we would need to do that as a separate amendment.
What was that, Heather?
If we get additional information on restoration plans,
Yes.
is that something that we might be able to modify this if we initiate it? Or would that be better to initiate as a separate amendment to the RCD? And I know Abby just got back from the restroom. So we were talking about moving forward potentially with this draft version of the amendments and then working on the environmental restoration plan at a later date.
Sure.
If we get that information and the board is comfortable with incorporating that into these amendments after it's already been initiated, could they potentially do that as a modification to the amendments, or?
That shouldn't be a problem. But I guess we'd have to see just where it is in the process, if that's feasible.
Okay. Because if it's not, I mean, obviously it could just be initiated as a separate.
Right.
Okay.
And then, Counselor, with regards to the public hearing component, with the 11 amendments as handed out by Heather this evening, would we vote on each one of those amendments? Now, would that fall under the umbrella of a single public hearing, or would we have a discussion on each amendment, and then would we have what would your vision of the flow of the public hearing be?
I would feel comfortable doing a discussion of all 11 at once and then voting individually. I would feel comfortable with that.
So we don't want to have public discussion on amendment number 1 and then close that and then
You
vote
certainly
on it and then
could.
have,
You certainly could,
okay.
but it would be up to you. I think it might be more time effective if we did the discussion of all 11 at once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that doesn't affect me.
And then we would have a vote on each one of them.
The record for the longest zoning commission meeting could be up for grabs with this. I don't know.
You really want that?
I got robbed of the shortest meeting, okay, unfairly, and so this is my only out. I've got to have some legacy. So all right, that's very good. Thank you I appreciate your advice and counsel. Okay, so my thought is then the way we'll run this is we'll just have a single public hearing. We'll discuss each amendment, and then we'll entertain all public comment and duly note according to whatever amendments anybody's making comments on, and then we will close the public portion and then take it to a vote. And then we'll vote, we'll do a roll call vote on each amendment, and we'll click them right off the list, so then we'll need a motion, and then, in a second, and then a vote, and then a motion, a second, a vote. We'll go down the 11 amendments, and hopefully we'll be out of here before midnight. So I don't really anticipate too much to deal with, but I think we're good, right?
Yep.
So anybody have any other comments at this point then on this work session, or any other input? So we're all just for the record, we're all in agreement that we should forge ahead, stripping out the restoration plan verbiage and moving forward with the information we've got put together. We're okay with that. We're in consensus there.
Yes.
And then the structure of the public hearing when it comes, we're okay with that. Heather, we appreciate all the hard work. I mean, it's been a long slog through this. I think we've put some very meaningful changes in place here, and I think that I look forward to getting this wrapped up. I will voice my disappointment in Soil and Water for kind of not getting back to us and helping us out. It would be nice to put the complete body of work together that we've worked on, but unfortunately, in reference to time and everything else, I really don't want to delay voting on the Information Act, because I think we've got some very meaningful things that we've done already, and I'd like to get that implemented, and then when we're ready, we can always put that the restoration plan verbiage in there, and we can have a public hearing for that. I think that'll be a relatively simple. I mean, we already have everything ready to go for it. All we need is some guidance on how that's going to look and what that plan is going to consist of, and then we can incorporate that in. So I think we'll be in good shape there. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, if there's no further comments on this, we'll move on to item number 6 on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Question.
Yes.
Is this appropriate for the motion to go to public hearing? Do we need a motion to do?
Yeah, I think we should. Thank you.
I'll make that.
So we're waiting.
Okay. Let's see, I have to word this. I make a motion that the 11 amendments proposed for the R2 Residential Conservation Development District be put forth to a public hearing.
How was that, Counselor?
Let's say the date of the next public hearing.
Yeah.
Date and time, yeah.
Date and time?
October 5th is the next meeting that falls within the 20 to 40 days that we're
That
required to
would
have it.
be
So if you would like to pick
October
that.
5th would be the next zoning commission meeting.
I'll add
that-
October 5th.
Now, does that fit within our time frame, October 5th?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it does,
Okay,
yes.
so
We have
we're
to have
good
it
with that.
between
So
20
the
and 40
appropriate
days.
notices, public notices and everything can be done?
Yes.
All right, so then we'll look to have a public hearing on October 5th for this. Do you have a motion made?
I second.
Frank seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, let the record reflect, we had motion made, seconded by Frank Schindler, voice vote of 5 ayes, no nays, no abstentions, so that motion carries, and we will look at putting the zoning text amendments for the Residential Conservation Development District on public hearing for our next zoning commission hearing of October 5th. Okay? All right. Now can I move on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Number 6 on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the August 3rd, 2021 zoning commission meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 3rd zoning commission meeting.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? None? Okay, let the record reflect we had 5 ayes, no nays, no abstentions. Motion carries to accept the minutes as presented. Okay, item number 7, correspondence report from the zoning commission members. Mr. Reppert.
None, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Schindler,
None, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ifelis.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I had an inquiry from a friend and resident of Concord regarding possible zoning violation, which I referred to Heather to refer to on Concord Hampton Road.
Okay.
That's all I did at this point.
Mr. Peterson.
Had nothing, Mr. Chairman.
I had nothing, so we're moving on. Correspondence report is covered, and now we're moving to the audience participation portion. Do we have anybody in the room that's interested in speaking? I would say no. Do we have anybody on the phone that's interested in speaking in the audience participation component?
Sure, this is Vanessa.
Okay.
And I just wanted to second the notion that it is important to try and come up with a revitalization plan. And I'm sorry that the Soil and Water hasn't. I wrote to Heather on August 4th with a couple of other recommendations that would be as good, if not better, than Lake County Soil and Water. And the first is Kirby Gates, who wrote the Conservation Development Resource Manual a number of years ago. He also worked at Cleveland State and the Lynn College of Urban Affairs they have an extensive knowledge about a lot of different conservation development things, and that could help with the revitalization plan as well as the seasonal maintenance plan. And the other recommendation that I made was Randy Zondag, who retired but used to run the Ohio State Extension program. So either talking with Randy and or talking with the current folks in the Ohio State Extension program might be very helpful. So I think that those might also be good resources to look into. That's it.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right. That'll wrap up the audience participation component of this evening's meeting. The next zoning commission meeting will be held on October 5th of 2021 at 7 p.m. right here in Concord Township Hall. Any additional information or anything else anybody would like to discuss or see added to the agenda for next month? We will be having the public hearing on the residential conservation zoning district. Anything new coming down the pike there, Heather?
Might be another project for the Auburn Career Center. That's it.
Did I'd make it a personal policy not to follow what happens after we decide what goes on. Did what happened with the trustees meeting with Canterwood Farm? What happened? Did they approve it or?
Oh, the revised preliminary plan, they did approve.
Okay, so it was approved? The preliminary?
Yes, it
Okay.
was.
Okay, all right, very good. Yeah, I know there was a lot of weird things that went on over time with that, so it's good that it was resolved. With that said, I'll adjourn the meeting.